the pinnacle of the college football season, guys, the New Year's Six bowl games. And going this, we're going to go over the picks, all the spreads, and who is going to win each game based on all these analytics I'm going to give you guys. Let's start out with the Verbal Fiesta Bowl. The Oregon Ducks, 11-2, Pac-12 runner-up versus the Group of 5 representative Liberty Flames at 13-0. Liberty's 23 in the CFP top 25, while Oregon is a top 10 team. They lost to Washington twice, lost by 3 points both times. Probably were the better team, but overall they did not win the game when they needed to, so they are relegated to the Fiesta Bowl. You can just see some of these stats. They're 49-7 as the favorite. Liberty's 12-12 as an underdog, which isn't bad at all, especially for a Group of 5 team. Their offense is pretty good. Defense is kind of trash. Oregon's top 10 in both. Their strength of schedule is not even close. Oregon's 31st. Liberty's played the 116th ranked strength of schedule. Haven't even played a tier 1 or a tier 2 team. Any team that appeared in the top 50. So Oregon's a 15.5 point favorite. I think Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon's going to ultimately cover this. I think Liberty's just... they're a feel-good story up until about kickoff, and then it's just going to be a bloodbath. I think Oregon's just going to massacre them, guys. I think it's not even going to be close, and this is probably going to be the weakest of all the 6 New Year's Six bowl games, at least in terms of matchup quality. Up next is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. The Ole Miss Rebels versus Penn State Nittany Lions. Both teams finished 10-2. I think third in their division. I think maybe Ole Miss finished second. I forget. But they're both number 10, number 11 in the country, respectively. Penn State lost both of their tier 1 games, but they are 4-0 against tier 2 opponents. Meanwhile, Ole Miss actually has a tier 1 win. I do believe that was over LSU. They played they had 3 tier 2 wins as well. So both teams are kind of even in offense, 16-13. Defense, Penn State's much better, at least statistically. Ole Miss is 26, where Penn State's number 4. Ranked strength of record is basically the same. Strength of schedule is basically the same. Penn State's a 5-point favorite going into this one. I think the Nittany Lions are going to win this, and I think they're going to cover the 5 points. This moved from 3 points to start to up to 5 points now. So I think Vegas knows that Penn State is a better team. This might be a low-scoring game, though. 48.5 is pretty low. So I think Penn State will move to 11-2 for the second consecutive year and get their. I think if they win this, they'll win every New Year's Six bowl game since the BCS era started. I think they'll be the first team to ever do so, besides Alabama. So next is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Missouri Tigers versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. Missouri is one of the most surprising teams to finish this year. I think in the preseason I had them picked to be over their win total of 7.5, which they obviously obliterated and got to 10 double digits in the regular season. Their 2 losses were to LSU and to Georgia, 2 of the better teams in the SEC, better teams in the country. But I think they do have a tier 1 win. I think it was against Tennessee. They have 3 tier 2 wins as well. While Ohio State, they beat Penn State and they beat Notre Dame on the road as their 2 top tier 1 teams. The only loss was to Michigan by 6 on the road in a very hostile and very, the circumstances were all set up for Ohio State to win that game, but they didn't, and now they relegated all the way back to number 7 in the CFP. So, and now all the opt-outs of this game have caused a massive swing in this spread. The initial spread started off at 6 points for Ohio State. Then within a week, got all the way down to Missouri was a 2.5 point favorite. Then in the last couple days, Ohio State has moved back to the favorite, all the way up to being a 3 point favorite now. I don't know if it was a video of Devin Brown throwing the ball or whatever the hell happened. Just randomly in the last 48 hours caused this game to swing massively again for the spread. I've never seen a volatile spread like this within 2 weeks from Vegas as it has. But here we are. Ohio State's a 3 point favorite. Statistically and analytically, they're just a better team in every category. But Ohio State just has so many opt-outs in this game, including their starting quarterback who transferred. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not playing. They have a bunch of players on the offense and the defensive side. I just feel like Missouri is the team of destiny this year, and they're going to win this. They're going to cover the 3 points and win this game outright in the Cotton Bowl, get their first New Year's Six bowl win since I think the New Year's Six started. I don't think they won a bowl game in 2012 so we'll have to see what happens, but I think Missouri's going to get it done. They're going to beat Ohio State, who is severely downgraded in their talent and their depth in this game, and they'll get to 11 wins. Next is talking about people that opt out. The Capital One Orange Bowl, Florida State against Georgia. The team that was dogged and no pun intended, the team that was left out because of their quarterback loss, and the team that probably should have been in that was a guaranteed in if they would have won, but they dropped 5 spots from 1 to 6, and now Florida State sits ahead of them in the final CFP rankings. But I think somebody reported that between 40 and 45 total players are going to opt out for this game, which going into this, Florida State had all the motivation to say, look, we deserve to be in the CFP. We deserve to be, in this top 4 squad discussion, no matter if our quarterback's there or not. But all these players just seemed to bail on him and said, bro, well, we didn't get no respect, so what does it matter? We're not playing for anything, actually. And this game is a microcosm of what's broken with college football. I mean, if a New Year's 6 Orange Bowl game against the 2-time defending national champs with a chip on your shoulder to prove to the world that you're one of the best teams in the country, even without your starting quarterback, isn't motivation for these players to stick around? I don't know what is, guys. It's remarkable that 20 players on this team have opted out, including, I think, 3 of their best defensive players. They're starting wide receiver. I think they're starting tight end, some couple of linemen. I don't know. It's amazing how many people opt out for this, and it should have been a good close game. But what started off as a 13-point spread has now moved to 19.5 in favor of Georgia, and ultimately I think they're going to win this. But I think Florida State's going to cover. The 19 points is a lot, even with a backup quarterback. Georgia has a lot of opt outs too. They're just so loaded. There's no way Georgia loses this game. I'm sorry. All the stats they show, but even Georgia's a much better team. They're going to win this. Now, moving on to the 2 CFP games. The first one, Alabama taking on undefeated number 1 ranked Michigan Wolverines. This is the second time these two teams have met since 2019. Alabama won 35-16 in that one. I think it was the Citrus Bowl, I do believe. And this team has just been on a mission. Through all the off-field issues, all the scrutiny, all the just distractions they've had, they somehow made it to 13-0 and became just the 8th team in the CFP era to be ranked number 1. And they're going into this, they're a 2-point favorite, which is very surprising for any team that plays against Nick Saban. No matter how good or bad they are, Michigan is a 2-point favorite. Now, I would say that the amount of competition that Michigan has played versus Alabama has been drastic. Michigan's strength of schedule right now is 39th, while Alabama currently has played the toughest strength of schedule in all of college football. The only loss was to Texas, who's the other team in the next CFP game that we're going to go over. But both teams are basically even. Michigan has a 2nd-ranked defense. Alabama's number 6. Michigan's 7th in offense. Alabama's 4th. Both have three Tier 1 wins, but Alabama has 3 more Tier 2 wins. So, again, that's where that strength of schedule has come into play. Biggest stats I can show, Alabama's only been an underdog 3 times in the last 5 years. A remarkable stat. But meanwhile, Michigan's 55-8 overall as a favorite the last 5 years. So, who ultimately wins this game? I think Alabama does. I think they're just Nick Saban as an underdog is just it's the one thing you just don't pick against. There's death, there's taxes, and then there's Nick Saban winning as an underdog. It always happens. I think he's only lost 2 games as an underdog. No, actually, right here. 1 game as an underdog the last 5 years. I think he's only lost twice in his entire career at Alabama. So this is just uncharted territory for Nick Saban, especially in a New Year's 6 CFP game. I don't think they've ever been an underdog in any New Year's 6 game he's ever played in. So this is uncharted territory, and I think they're ultimately going to win this. The history will just repeat itself, and Alabama's going to go to the national title game against the winner of the next game. The All-State Sugar Bowl, Texas Longhorns versus the Washington Huskies. Washington's the only other undefeated team besides Michigan this year, and they made it. They won the Pac-12. They had one of the best resumes you could ever want for a team. I mean, Michigan's ranked number 1. They're just the eye test just showed they were just a better team. But Washington, in terms of on-paper resume, just played and defeated, as you see, 4 Tier 1 teams and another 2 Tier 2. So they beat 6 teams ranked in the top 50 on their way to an undefeated season. That's actually absolutely remarkable. And ESPN knows this, and that's why they gave them the strength of record as the toughest, number 1 in the entire country. I mean, when you beat Oregon twice, you beat Utah, you beat Oregon State, you beat Southern Cal, who they're a much different team when they had Caleb Williams. And then I forget who their non-conference was against, but this team has just handled every single game, whether it was close or not, in this dominating fashion, and they deserve to be the number 2 team in the country. Their strength of schedule is number 9. Texas is 4th. And again, Texas has played just as many Tier 1 teams and Tier 2 teams as Washington has had, but their best win obviously was against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Only loss was on a last-second touchdown in the Red River Shootout against Oklahoma. I think they scored under 30 seconds left, so I mean, it's not like they had a bad loss either. Texas is a 4-point favorite going in this one, and out of all the New Year's Six, this is definitely by far the highest of the over/under. I take that back. The Oregon Liberty game, I think, is higher than this, but 63 points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be tough for Texas to shut down Penix and Washington's aerial attack, but I do believe they have the good enough defense to do that. They're ranked 7th. Washington's ranked 22nd, and they actually have a higher-ranked analytically offense than Washington does, but it's only about 1 point. So, who ultimately wins this game and who goes to the national championship game? I think Texas wins this game. I say that Washington will cover the 4-point spread, I do believe. This game is going to be a field goal game. I think whoever has the ball last is going to win this. Whoever has the least amount of stakes will win this. You know, that's a cliche. Whoever has the ball last and has the least amount of turnovers. But I just feel like the way this game's going to go, it's going to be every possession is going to matter. And if you don't start scoring touchdowns, then it's going to get out of hand. And I think Texas has, you know, even if they get down early or even in the first half, I think they have the defense is going to pull through in the end. And I think they're just going to be the better team and ultimately make their way back to a rematch against Alabama in the national championship game. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to have the best chance of an upset? Do you think Liberty has any chance against Oregon, or do you think any of the other games are going to have an upset? Who would be the most surprising team coming out of these 12 New Year's Six games? Let me know in the comments below. Also, hit me up on Twitter at SportsNerd92. Also, join me for all my shorts. I'm going to be posting these all throughout the weekend through the national semifinals, the CFP semifinals on January 1st. And then, obviously, I'll lead up onto the national title game the next Monday. We'll go over some in-depth stats with that game, whoever it may be. So, but join me next week, guys, and see you then.